Day 114. And it seems like just like clockwork, because we are in Mercury retrograde. Instagram filters, 90% of them don't work. And apparently it's not just me where the Instagram filters don't work. And so, yeah, so this is like the only filter that works that doesn't like make me look like I'm sick or anything like that. Okay, so today, what do I want to talk about? I had a few ideas, but I forgot. Okay. Yeah, so right now I'm just like kind of staying in another little suite until I move into my place on Saturday. So I'm excited about that. Still feeling kind of a little bit in limbo with everything because I can't move in all my stuff into the new place because it's such a small space. So I'm like, I need to get organizers, but right now I don't have the money to get the organizers. So everything is like literally like all over the place, but I'm sure it'll get better. And I like making lists. So this morning I just made a list of all the hikes I want to do this summer. And so making lists make me happy. So I wrote down a list of all the hikes I want to do here. And then like I'll probably make a trip out to Whistler. And I wrote down a few hikes I want to do there. Between some I've already done, but some that I've never done that I want to do. So pretty cool. And I guess, yeah, what am I going to talk about? Human design. Yes, that's what I want to talk about, human design. So for those of you who don't know, I am obsessed with human design. I love everything about human design. To me, it's like it's your energetic blueprint. So it's like as much as it is a tool, it's still like more than that. It's still like it tells you who you are. But human design is an experiment. So you're meant to like try out different things until you find what works for you as well. And so for me that like, I mean, I've been now like in my experiment for well over 2 years, tapping into different elements of human design and learning different aspects of my chart and diving deeper and deeper. And so I guess like one of the biggest questions people have, especially when it comes to human design, is that there's so much information. There's so many levels to it, and it's just like there's the deeper levels. There's like, you know, the basic, between the gates, the channels, you know, the variables, like there is a lot. They even have the planets on top of that. And so where do you start? So if you are interested in human design, first go to get your chart. So you can get your chart at 2 spots. You can get it at mybodygraph.com, which like for me, I find that is like a great way to get intro to it because that website is more like easier, user friendly. Or you can also get it on mygeneticmatrix.com. And so either or, you choose which one feels right for you. And then in there, you're going to put your birthday. So date, time, location. If you don't know your time, then this is where you can either call a hospital that you were born at to get the time, or you can ask someone to do the pendulum to get the time, but then even that might not be fully accurate. What I did once is someone had asked me to do a reading for them where we just tried to figure out the time. So we basically she knew it was in the morning, and so we put in different time frames, and I asked her a bunch of different questions as to, depending on how her chart changed from all those times. And so I do offer that as well if you don't know your time. So that is a very small fee. I think I charged her $60 just to do that. And it's just kind of to figure out, it was very much of a basic reading, but more figuring out what your time is. And I was asking questions based on her what changed. So whether it was certain gates, or whether it was her profiles, or and then I went deeper into looking at the like the variables, because like just asking, even though the variables, there's a lot of conditioning, there is certain elements that you're already kind of doing naturally. So you will know sometimes if it's one or the other. So that's another way I've done it. What else? And so, yeah, so you start there. So you go on My Body Graph or Genetic Matrix, you get your chart. Then you find out what your type is. So your type, you could be either a manifestor, mani-gen, generator, projector, or reflector. So you want to learn about your type. Like, what does it mean to be a manifestor? What does it mean to be a mani-gen, generator, projector, reflector? And if you want, you can also go on my YouTube channel, and I do have a section on human design, so you can go look at that of what I've spoken about. And so understanding what it means to be each type, then this is how you can like play around with it. So like projectors, for example, like I'm a projector. We are not meant to be working crazy, like, like 40, 50, 60-hour weeks. Like we're meant to like, kind of like work less and like chill, relax, play more. And so even they say the average projector is like 4 hours. Sometimes I could say like that would be like 4 to 6. And so if you're a projector, you can start with like slowing down a little bit, like taking more breaks. If you do work in an office that is an 8-hour day, like, taking breaks in between your work, whether it's like, napping in between or meditating or just like getting up from your desk, going for a walk, like grabbing a coffee, getting out in nature. And this is like a way to do it if you do work 8 hours. And so as a projector, you want to slow down. And so that is a way to like tap into that and work less as a generator or a manifestor and tap into that. If you are a manifestor, for example, like you have bursts of energy. So your energy comes in bursts and then you crash. And so sometimes with manifestors is that they want to keep going. But in that moment, that is when you have to listen to your body and saying like, okay, like my body is telling me to chill. And so honoring that. Generators and mani-gens, like you have a lot of energy, but it doesn't mean that you need to be doing things that you don't like or that frustrate you. You are meant to be doing things that light you up, that, feel like a full body yes. And so where you can start is like, which tasks, which things you do in your life that you don't like. So one, how can you turn it around and make it fun for yourself? Or how can you outsource it and get someone else to do it? Or how can you get like just help, like someone else to help you with it? So I know, for example, I had one friend who was a generator and she hated writing emails. Like she was like getting down. She was just like, she just couldn't get her thoughts out, struggled with that, and would sit and force and sit in front of the computer for hours and hours on end. And so it would cause frustration having her being out of alignment. And so I suggested, I was like, well, what if you just like ask someone to just write like a draft or write the first sentence for you so that can get the ball rolling if you can't outsource it now. Or if you're seeing you're frustrated, step away, go do something else, do something that lights you up, and then come back to it and see how it feels. But also, how can you make writing emails fun for yourself? Like, are you going to put on some music that you love? Like, kind of be in an environment, like go to your favorite coffee shop and you're like, okay, cool. Like, this is like my jam. What can you do with that? And then for reflectors, are you putting yourself in environments that are not good for you? Because if you are in an environment that's not good for you, then you are not in alignment with yourself. Reflectors, all your centers are either open or undefined. So you are taking in a lot of the energy from the outside world. You're sampling a lot and you're mirroring it all back. And so a reflector in an environment that isn't in alignment, that it doesn't feel right to you, then the energy for you is going to be wobbly. And so when you go in a coffee shop or the home you are living in, like how does it feel for you? Does it feel right? Or is there something that needs to shift? Like if you go to a coffee shop and you're like, the vibe here is not my vibe, then go somewhere else. If you're at home and right now maybe you're not in a place to move, it's like, how can you change your environment? How can you decorate it so that it does feel right for the time being? And if you have the ability to move, then make that step, right? And so those are different ways. So understanding who you are as like the types is important as like a base, so that you can just start doing like a little bit of trial and error. Once you understand that, then it's important to understand your strategy and your authority. So your strategy, manifestors is to inform, generators is to respond, Mani-gens is to respond and inform, projectors is wait for the invitations, and reflectors is basically awaiting a full lunar cycle. And so understanding what that is and how to work with that. And then you got the authority, which is your decision-making process. So whether it is a sacral authority, which is like your gut response, or whether that is like mine is self-projected. So for me, it's like talking out loud and feeling what my G center says and hearing myself speak, or whether you got soundboarding, splenic, emotional. And so it is practicing making decisions based on your authority. So every time you have a decision, even if it's a small one of like, what are you going to eat tonight? Practice listening to your body, using your authority in the small decisions. And from there, you're going to start, I guess, like training that muscle, so to speak, because I do know that I've met Mani-gens and generators who don't know what a sacral response is. And like, if you look at human design, like some people can interpret like the sacral authority as like the easiest, but it's not necessarily, right? Like there's nothing that is easier or harder in human design. It's just like they're all unique to each person. And so there are people who have tapped into their authority already naturally, like the splenic, where it's like sudden bursts and you get that intuitive hit and you follow it. But then some people would get the splenic and they'll get the sudden burst, but because it comes and goes so quickly, they don't listen to it. And then other people can't even feel the body sensations because they're so much like up in their head. And then you got like the mental projectors who like, mental projectors don't have like an inner authority. So they don't have like an actual body sensation of like, how to make decisions. It is literally like talking out loud, like soundboarding, talking out loud and hearing themselves speak and putting themselves in the right environment and paying attention to that. And so, then you got reflectors who also don't have an inner authority. So it is like basically like practicing that in very small things of like deciding, what to eat tonight, or if you do have like more of like an inner authority where it's like a feeling, for example, like the sacral authority, you can like go down the grocery store and like, if you're looking for something, you don't know which aisle it is, use your sacral authority to figure it out instead of looking at the signs. And so there's many ways to like play around with it. And so this is where I suggest you start. If you do desire to learn more, I do offer readings and I also do offer embodiment. And so right now I am doing a special on embodiment piece because I believe that the reading is very much like, here's the information, here's a few little like kind of like tips, a few little things to get you started into embodying, and then off you go. And if that is your jam, if that's all you want, that's all good. But if you want to work through and basically like kind of do it, I wouldn't like maybe a little bit of a slower pace where, each week we tap into one area. So like it will be like 1 week will be your authority, and I would give you things to do like to, like kind of practice on like how to use your authority. And then we will tap in the following week and see like, okay, what came up? How did it feel? Like, where can we pivot? Like, because this is an experiment, right? And so it is more of a relationship building and kind of like we're going with it together. And so you tell me like, I'm going to give you a few things to try out. And then like, and we're even going to try things out during the session. And then after that, you tell me what comes up. And then we figure out where to go from there. And we do look at things like the open and undefined centers and, working on the deconditioning process there as well. And I'll also look into your variables because your variables are important too. And so yeah, so that is basically how the embodiment piece works versus the reading. And so the reading is, right now I have it priced at $222, and the embodiment piece I have is 6 sessions for $777. And so it is because I want to build this. It is really important for me to build this embodiment piece, because I find it is, in my opinion, like, I wouldn't say better, because that's not the word I want to use, but it is more impactful. And so, but again, I'm leaving the choice up to you, and this is your call. And so that is everything about human design. Like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to submit in the comments. You can also go on my YouTube. I do have a section on human design from what I've spoken about so far. I'm going to keep talking to it. Like, don't forget, I have 365 days live. I'm probably going to talk more about human design down the road, and we're only at day 114. And then, yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah. And then also, if you do one-to-one coaching with me, human design is part of that as well. So if you want to work on other things, such as like inner child healing, or, manifestations and those kind of things, we talk about human design in there, because I use your chart to coach you in the best way based on your chart and who you are. That makes it unique. Yeah. And also, like, if you do desire, like, whether it is a masterclass or a program where we can have like a group program, and if that's something you would love, send me an invitation. I haven't received many invitations about masterclasses or group programs, and it seems that every time I launch a masterclass on like the intro of human design, it kind of falls flat. And so I am kind of taking a step back from like doing that, because I'm like, well, there's no invitations, and that's why it's falling flat as a projector. So if that is something you're like, Julie, I would really love this, like, even if it's like, if you're a projector and we do something specifically for projectors, send me an invitation. I always appreciate invitations. I look at them, and then I see if they feel in alignment or right for me, and then I move forward from there. And I think that's it. I think that's all I have to say. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll speak to you guys tomorrow. Bye.